Hi, I'm Dr. Seth Jenny, and today what I'd like to talk to you about is safe and enjoyable distance running, cardiovascular based activities and guidelines and strategies for elementary children. Before we get going, a little bit about my background. I am a USA track and field certified coach. I ran collegiately NCAA Division II Slippery Rock University. I have coached from all levels, from elementary. I've coached and taught health and physical education at the middle school, elementary, high school levels. I've been a high school cross country and track coach. I've also coached at the collegiate level. Some of the athletes that I have coached have competed at the World Mountain Running Championships as well as the Olympic Games in the marathon. I myself continue to run. I've run the Boston Marathon a few times, and yeah, so it's something that it's been involved in my life for quite a long time. So this presentation is based on this publication that I did a few years ago called Distance Running in the Elementary Age Child. It was published in JOPERD, and there's the reference there. So based upon this presentation, here's the goals. You will have a general idea of a safe, enjoyable distance running experience with elementary children and how to structure that. You'll be able to utilize a variety of instant distance running activities with your elementary age students and athletes. And you'll be able to apply distance running safety guidelines and teaching tips to assist in preventing injuries and reduce mental burnout with your elementary age students and athletes by the end of this presentation. So a quick reminder, what is the goal of a physical education program? Well, by the end of your program, you're trying to develop a physically literate individual who can demonstrate competency in a variety of motor skills and movement patterns. So for this presentation, we're talking about running. Applies knowledge of concepts, principles, strategies, and tactics related to movement and performance, and certainly an after school, before school, cross country, during a physical education class, you can teach some of these tactics and strategies relating to distance running. For example, even running pace. Demonstrates the knowledge and skills to achieve and maintain a health-enhancing level of physical activity and fitness. This cardiovascular-based activity is great to integrate some of those basic physiology tips and techniques that they can learn from, talking about heart rate, talking about appropriate exercise intensities. So all of these things can be taught through distance running. Exhibits responsible personal and social behavior that respects self and others. So we're hitting those affective learning domains, and certainly any type of group environment you can teach and have the students learn through those activities. And then recognizes the value of physical activity for health, enjoyment, challenge, self-expression, and or social interaction. And so again, you want the students to love distance running, that they're having a good time, and that they're valuing it and they're understanding why they're doing it. So let's do an operational definition here on distance running. In this presentation, it is defined as unsystematic, cardiovascular-based physical activity where running is the primary mode of locomotion. So let's also define what we mean by elementary age. This presentation is geared toward children between 5 and 11 years old, and certainly distance running is often an underutilized activity for the physical educator or coach because of many reasons, but we're going to focus on two common misconceptions. Distance running is not enjoyable, and if you talk to people who had a bad experience in quote-unquote gym class with a gym teacher as compared to a physical educator who used running as punishment, or they had a coach with any sport, and if they did something wrong or they're late to practice, you're going to run laps. This is a reason why some people hate running. And the other misconception is that distance running is not safe for children. And so we're going to talk about those and work through these types of misconceptions. So what's going to happen in the next few slides? I'm going to go through some instant activity ideas that you can incorporate tomorrow with your lessons and training sessions, some safety guidelines, talk a little bit about aerobic, anaerobic development, and as well as some practical tips when you're integrating some of these running-based activities. And again, the main goal of this session is so that you can be able to provide and have ideas for structuring a safe, enjoyable distance running experience with elementary age children. So back to that first misconception, is it fun? Again, just because it's not fun always for an adult because they've had bad prior experiences doesn't mean it's not fun for children. Children love to run. Look at any type of tag-based activity where kids are running around. They are enjoying it. It's what they love to do when they're moving from one place to another. That's what they would prefer to do, is to run. Certainly not for overly extended periods of time, and so we'll talk about some of the guidelines that we recommend for that. But it is definitely, when you are adding variety and you're making it fun and you're putting games in conjunction with the running, children will enjoy it. So here's a listing of some example instant distance running activities. I'm going to go through some of these. So the first one would be the line runs. You might know something similar called last person up. You can group students into similar ability levels, but I really encourage you to, if this is an after school based running program and you have parental help, then have an adult with each group. If you don't, which is fine, what you might do is do this on a track. And instead of having them run the entire time, the basis of this activity is that the person in the back runs to the front, and then it's continual. The last person in the back goes to the front of the line. And so two main tips would be, number one, use a relay baton or a rubber chicken or anything that is physically they can hold. And so when you run to the front of the line, pass it back to that last person. When the last person gets it, they run up to the front. So this is sort of like a type of interval training, but I encourage you to start the students with just walking, and you're only running if you have that item in your hand and you're running up to the front. So what happens, and this can be disastrous, is if you do this activity and you're running as a group, and the one person wants to push the pace, and then the last person who's supposed to be running to the front of the line is not fast enough to get to the front of the line. And so start with the walking, use an actual piece of equipment to signify who's running up to the front. Tag games, definitely use some type of penny or something to designate who the tagger is, and there's 100 different ideas for that one. An obstacle run. It's great if the students can set up a course. You might just go to your equipment closet, throw out a bunch of equipment, and tell them to set up an obstacle course that's safe, that has a starting point and an end point. You might use cones, mini hurdles, agility ladders, anything that they can step over, crawl through, get under, and then make sure you have proper spacing so that don't go until the person in front of you reaches a certain point on the course, so that if that person is faster and they're coming up behind another person who's slower, that there's safe distance between. The next one would be whistle games. And so I've done what's called a whistle fartlek. And this is where you would blow the whistle once to signify a pickup or an increase in pace, and then blow the whistle twice to slow your pace or to walk. And it's fine if they need to walk, and that's something that we've done in a more continuous type of running activity. And then once we do those types of workouts that are a little bit harder, we'll end with a funner, more fun game than that. But you don't want it to be so rigorous and so structured that with this age, you're doing set intervals like 200-meter repeats or 400-meter repeats or anything like that. Another way to modify this is you set out enough hula hoops around the area for each student, one for each student, and on one whistle blow, they run to a hula hoop and they perform whatever specific exercise. It might be jumping jacks or push-ups or whatnot in the hoop area, and then on a second whistle they're running continuously around that area. So an activity you can do to teach pacing, I've done this two ways. The first way is that we all line up on a straight line, and we'll do it by distance, and I will set out cones out in the field as far as 200 meters away, and I might have a cone every about 50 meters. And I will start my watch, and if we have a large group, I'll split up into two different groups. But if not, 20, 25 students, we can do this all at the same time. I'm going to start, say go. We're going to run to that first cone, and I'm going to yell out the time. So 13, 14, 15. And then when they get to that cone, they're stopping. At that point, they're going to try to remember that time. And guess what? Now we're going to run back to our starting point. And I'm going to lead the group here. And when I get to that starting point, I'm going to read out the time, my watch as it's going, 13, 14, 15. And then we're going to ask the kids, did it take you the same amount of time to run out as it did to come back, which was the same exact distance? And if it was, then you ran an even pace. And so we do that, and the longer the distance that they run out, the harder it is to run an even pace. The other way to structure that is that you go out for a certain amount of time. So I'm gonna use a whistle, and I'm gonna say, all right, we're gonna go 30 seconds out, and I'll run out 30 seconds. When you hear the whistle, freeze. Stop exactly where you are. The kids that are more fit, they've gone farther. The kids that are less fit have not traveled as far. Then we're turning around, but we're not moving yet. And then I'm going to blow the whistle again, and we run back to the starting point. And I will be calling out 29, 30. And everybody should be finishing at the same time. So we've gone out 30 seconds. We're come back 30 seconds if they ran an even pace. And so if it's 31, 32, 33, then they know, hey, they probably went out a little bit too hard on that out and back time to run. Fartlek runs, those can be structured, the traditional term, this is a Swedish term for speed play. These are great for running trails. Pick up the pace when you feel like it. I wouldn't be going more than 2 minutes on an increased pickup and then slow down. And this is just having fun with picking up your pace and slowing down. Certainly cross-training, swimming, other cardio-based activities are great to do for that. Pacer test is another great activity to do pre-post. So you can start with the pacer test, do your 6-week running program, and then at the end do another pacer test and track improvement. You can also do pre-post, maybe a mile test, a half mile, depending upon the age group that you have. So in the right column here is a few more. Time sprints, you might do 50-meter sprints, 100-meter sprints, and talk about basics of interval training and trying to hit a goal time for that. Track form, follow the leader. You might lead the group, but tell your class or group to look at your running form and do an exaggerated lean forward or swinging your arms way over to the side, and do incorrect form movements, and then stop and ask them, hey, what was wrong about my form, and have them analyze your form so that it calls to their attention what you should be doing. In the same vein, you can do mirror runs, where if you have maybe a weight room that has mirrors all around, you can have them jog in place and look at their running form to see how they're doing and whether it's proper form. Hill running. It is great to do uphills, downhills. Really be careful on the downhills. I wouldn't have them run the downhills hard. It's really stressful on your quads to stop you from falling. And so, but hill work is what they say is it's speed work in disguise. Digital scavenger hunt is a great idea where you can have them go around and take pictures of a scavenger list in a safe area that you know, and set out the distances of the objects on the paper as the distance you want them to travel.